up, Gabe?
Oh, hey, Ian. Hey, everybody. It's Wednesday. That means it's time for Blank as a Fart.
Indeed.
I'm Gabe. This is Ian.
Yup.
We're watching Twin Peaks, and we're having a lot of fun doing it. We are all the way up to Season 2, Episode 9. This one is entitled Arbitrary Law. We're past the halfway point of the original series here by a little bit already. What are you thinking so far, Ian?
Of the trip so far?
Yeah.
Oh,
Just
man.
the overall summary. Now that we're on the downslope of the first chapter.
Honestly, I guess when we were towards the end of the last season and we were talking about this season and kind of how it was going to play out, I had kind of... I thought it was going to be worse, honestly.
Well, we do still have 13 episodes.
I know. But, I mean, I feel like it's held its quality. It's not really... I mean, plot holes are one thing, but it hasn't made any, like, drastic departures. You know?
No shark jumping at this point.
Right, it's not like, just all of a sudden they've just completely forgot about... it's still kind of... While it always feels like it's a mess... I still feel like it's a collective mess that they've held on to. It's not like they haven't really lost, they're juggling all this stuff, but they haven't really, they might forget about something and then bring it back. But, like, we'll get some things back into this episode we haven't seen for a while, for instance. But, but they don't, they still are kind of, it's, as I say, it's messy. It's still somewhat cohesive. It's not like,
right.
They shifted the colors and changed the color of the title, or they didn't switch out a character and make him a completely different. There's no Ed is still Ed, even though he shows up for like 2 seconds and doesn't say anything, kind of shit. It's like it's still
there is a reason for that, and we'll get into that later.
But
it's a behind the scenes reason. There's no like story reason given for it. So,
but I mean, you know what I mean? They haven't made like broad changes to make the show. Sometimes producers are like, oh, you have to get rid of this person because they just suck and the show would be better or something. They're just moving forward, and it's still, anyway, that's kind of what I think. It's
still
fine.
Making sense.
It's still kind of, it makes sense as in its own universe. It makes sense. Nothing seems like, I don't not believe it. Like, if it wasn't Twin Peaks, maybe I'd be what? But, like, it's Twin Peaks, so I get it. So, there you go.
Yeah. It's Twin Peaks, so I get it. That's better than we could have hoped for, folks. Thanks to all of you who are checking in on the socials, by the way. Blank as a fart in most places, except for Gmail, which is blankasafartpod@gmail.com. Seeing some likes, enjoying that. Hoping y'all are tuning in on your own time. You can always catch us at the links in the bio. That'll take you to all of your favorite podcast platforms, such as Spotify, and iTunes, and Audible.
You could just go into Google and type "blank as a fart," a Twin Peaks podcast, and then it'll just show you. It'll show you things.
We're the first ones to use that name as a podcast.
Yeah, so you should be able to find us.
We managed to find a unique Twin Peaks podcast title.
There you go.
That's not an easy trick, folks, but we did it. Well, Ian, do you think we should get into it?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, let's start by saying hooray for continuity, as we open with the same shot we closed on last week. Poor dead Maddie wrapped in plastic, washed up on a sandy beach. Quick dissolve to our four most serious lawmen, Cooper, Albert, Truman, and Hawk, looking serious indeed as they stroll down a wooded path. Recent events clearly weighing heavily on their minds.
Albert's back. It's been a while.
Yeah, we like Albert. Albert's a favorite of ours. And not just for RoboCop. He's done lots of cool shit. We do get a long, slow pan among the trees during the secondary credits, ending with a close-up on the bloody letter O pulled from under Maddie's fingernail. This was an interesting choice. What did you think of that shot?
Well, I was so distracted by all the Dutch angles going on. So,
I don't think we actually got any of those until after the credits.
I don't think so. When they're walking, I think it's Dutch angle.
Is it?
I don't know. Right after, as
Could
soon as
be.
they start talking, it's Dutch angle. It's Dutch angle time.
Yeah.
Right in that, right off the. I mean, it's just so
Well, and I
distracting.
guess that's not unusual. We do get lots of long pans along the river during secondary credits too, so could just be, establishing shots. Albert tells us the obvious. This is the work of the same killer, but he adds that between Maddie's fingers were found hairs from a stuffed dead white fox. You know, like the one we saw Leland absent-mindedly fiddling with in Ben Horn's office.
But was he absent-mindedly fiddling it, or was he
Or was he
purposefully?
intentionally?
Was Bob purposefully grabbing some shit so he could plant? He's just thinking about framing
We're still
Leland
not quite
or
sure what Bob's
Ben.
motivations are, other than he just seems to be an agent of chaos at this point, doesn't he?
Right, but I do think he was there to frame Ben. So like,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm saying he was in that room and he reached back there and grabbed it and he's like looking at it, and I think he just held on to that.
That is definitely something that hadn't occurred to me.
Anyway,
That it was planted to throw suspicion, but that makes a lot of sense. Cooper asks Truman not to make any notifications for 24 hours so he can, quote, finish this. Not exactly standard protocol, but when has that stopped Cooper before? And things are going to get weirder before they get more normal, folks.
yeah, this is a weird episode.
Yeah.
This is
Albert
I
makes an
wrote
impression.
that this is the most Lynch episode of all the episodes in my opinion so far, and it's not directed by Lynch.
No, nor does he get a writer's credit. He just
Right.
gets that standard EP and created by.
But it definitely has the most Lynch energy.
So it was what? It was Frost, Engels, and who else gets? It was pretty much just like writer's room gets the credit for
Frost
this one.
and two other dudes. I don't know.
Yeah, Engels I know is one of the producers. I'm sure I forget the other guy's name, but I know his name has come up before. We'll look it up when we hit the IMDb page at the end of the episode. Albert makes an impassioned speech to Cooper, letting him know that whatever he's going to do it quickly. Hawk affirms that Cooper is already on the path. He doesn't need to know where it leads, just follow it. Now we're at the Double R, where Donna is meeting James for breakfast. I really like the lighting of this initial shot.
So this is.
It makes it.
So we can talk. Go ahead.
Yeah. It makes it feel like it's taking place a little earlier in the morning than it actually is. I get the impression, especially when we go back to just like your normal.
It also has a Lynch coffee
shot
cup.
of the Double R. Does it?
You didn't notice that? Oh man,
No,
that's
I
the first thing I
that one.
noticed. There's a Lynch coffee cup in a non-Lynch episode. I think it's basically all lit from the outside, and it's just dark on the inside. So like they're actually really shadowed. So it doesn't continuity-wise when it cuts to the next scene with Norma. It doesn't really make any sense because it's way light inside the diner.
Yeah. Like for a second when I first saw it, watching back, I'm like, oh, they went to someplace else for breakfast?
Right.
What's Norma going to say? But then they cut to them talking to Andy later on. I'm like, oh, they just must have been in like that one side of the restaurant that we never see.
Well, I think
because most of this restaurant is actually just a set that they built.
Well, I think this is kind of this sets up something that happens towards the end of this episode with them, but I think this is kind of, it almost feels like a dream sequence because it's kind of got a little bit of haze, like a little flare on it, the way it's outside lit.
Yeah.
They're all very lovey, and it's all very
it's
like
a really idealistic moment for the two of them, and it does feel like it's shot that way.
And it's just not gonna last because just the way it's just all perfect, and she just seems original Donna, not new Donna.
Yeah, like all of that trauma seems to have left her after the whole incident with Harold Smith.
And part of me was thinking like, is this all a dream? Like the Dutch angles and like, is this a whole? Because I haven't seen this before. I'm thinking like, is this whole episode just going to be like a dream sequence of some sort? Like, is it going to be something weird like that? Because Dutch angles are meant to throw you off.
Mm-hmm.
and then this weird kind of
They're meant to unsettle you.
right,
Yeah.
and then this sequence just seems so different than any diner scene they've done, and it seems kind of dreamy. So I was just kind of, and then even the next sequence with Norma and her mom is bizarre to me. So
Yeah, the angle that they took on
both
Vivian.
of them, both of them.
Yeah, just some very interesting choices on that.
Well, the problem with it is that usually you do that in a power dynamic. So when you're looking up at someone, you're looking up at the powerful figure, and then when you're looking down at someone, you're looking at the weaker figure. The problem with the scene is that that's not the way. Norma's not the powerful one in the scene.
No. It's very inverted.
It's very So I'm watching it and it's incongruent with itself. So that is also unsettling as a filmmaker. I also thought it's not quite shot properly angle wise. It's a little. They're both a little too deep, but it's interesting.
Yeah, you
so
wonder if he was just experimenting.
Yeah, I don't know.
For ways to make it seem like.
Yeah, because they never go back to that.
No, they don't. Not in this episode, anyway.
They go back to the Dutch angles, but they don't ever go back to the high and lows. It's interesting.
The highs and lows, yeah. It's a weird shot, and it seems out of the ordinary, because it is. But anyway, back to the actual events. James talks about how on his morning ride, the engine was singing like 1,000 angels. Singing about what? About last night. What exactly did these two kids get into last night that would get Angel singing?
She was singing too. She was about to sing too, I guess.
Oh yeah, she was about to burst.
We missed that episode, Gabe.
Yeah.
Is that in the behind the scenes or like a cut?
Well, yeah, I think
episode?
They do establish later on that it's actually been a couple of days now since they've found Maddie's body.
Yeah.
So yeah. So anyway, James produces a promise ring he bought from some big-handed girl at a jewelry counter and mumbles, "I just think we should be together all the time." Remember that one, folks.
Yeah.
The two kiss over the table like the dopey, googly-eyed teenage lovebirds that they are. The mood is a little different over at the counter, where Norma's mother, Vivian, continues to speak almost exclusively in cutting sarcasm.
Two different scenes, it's the same continuity-wise. It's the same diner, but it just seems like it's two different things going on here.
Yeah, no, you might as well have like a complete different setting. It feels very different. Like I said, I thought it was until another sequence here. So Vivian's got an awful lot of comments about the food. Norma is really at the end of her rope with this woman, and she tries to express that honestly, but is just met with more sarcasm and some unsolicited recipe advice, which is not well received.
Correct.
At the other end of the counter, Andy is trying to teach himself French by loudly reciting an agoraphobic suicide note in the middle of a crowded restaurant.
So weird. And this is where if James and Donna hadn't shown up, we would have never have known that they were in that restaurant. They could have been a coffee shop, somewhere totally different. Where else are they going to go? Who knows? But they just pop in.
Yeah. Twin Peaks is, despite what the network would want you to believe, it's supposed to be a town of only 5,000 people. So I bet there's another coffee house somewhere downtown, though. Anyway, Donna overhears and remembers the words of Little Lynch. After Andy blabs out a lot of confidential police information, she's rightfully freaked out because this is all too weird to be a coincidence. Sounds like she needs the help of Agent Cooper. And boy, did he need a break right now. Looks like she manages to fetch him right away, as our very next scene is Donna leading him and Andy to Mrs. Tremont's place in Harold's old housing complex. But there's something very different about her place. Actually, everything is very different about it, including Mrs. Tremont herself. This is a completely different woman who obviously did not co-star in Happy Gilmore, and no sign of the auteur's mini-me either. This Mrs. Tremont is younger, a bit more brash and sassy, and far less prone to speaking in riddles. Once she hears Donna's name, a light bulb goes off, and she brings out an envelope for Donna that Harold had left with her shortly before unaliving himself. She swears she had planned to turn it in, but here her timing just seems kind of faded, doesn't it? Especially when we consider the contents of the envelope. It's a page torn from Laura's secret diary, which Cooper encourages Donna to read aloud.
Well, he tells her to open it, then he tells her to read it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just funny.
And it's just, yeah, very, like, commanding, too. I mean, he's gentle about it, but these aren't like,
Do
why
it.
don't you read it? How about you see what's in there? He's not like, no, do this, do this. He is oddly dispassionate toward Donna in this entire scene. And I'm not sure whether just that's because she's been really annoying to him during this whole investigation, or whether he's just too wrapped up in making sure he, meets his own self-imposed deadline.
I
But
have
yeah,
no idea.
it struck me as very weird for Cooper to just completely lack any compassion with Donna at all, especially after reading these entries, which are tough. The first entry is from the day before her death, and in it, Laura describes having the exact same dream that Cooper did, with the red room and the little man dressed in red who dances. She sees Cooper in the dream too, referring to him as an old man in a chair, and says she's tried to tell him who Bob is because she thinks he can help her, but her words are coming out slow and difficult. Laura claims that she knows Bob is afraid of Mike and wonders if the man in her dream might be Mike, but we know it's Coop. Donna then reads the next entry, which begins with the sentence, "Tonight is the night that I die." Laura seemed very convinced that her death was the only way to escape Bob. Donna seems pretty shaken by the contents, but Cooper doesn't seem terribly compassionate as he dashes off to find the one-armed man, leaving Donna to Andy's care.
For some reason, I was thinking that Mike was the midget or the little person.
No.
Does the little person have his own role to play in
The
this?
only name that he's given for now is the man from another place. That's what he appears as in the credits.
The little man?
On the yes, okay. That's his character name in the credits when you see him in the after part of the show. But that may evolve later on. Wink, wink to those who know what I'm talking about. Find the one-armed man. He does. It's not that hard. He's in his bed at the Great Northern still. Apparently, Mike being in charge of the body is not good for Philip's health, and Doc Hayward is very concerned at this point. But Mike snaps to full attention once Cooper lets him know that Bob has killed again. He discusses the relationship he had with Bob as a golden circle, which Cooper takes to mean a reference to the ring that he surrendered to the giant. Seems as though Mike and the giant are acquainted, and he tells Cooper the giant can help him piece together the rest of the puzzle. He just has to ask him first. As a final note, Mike adds that the answer is not in Cooper's head, but in his heart.
And that he has all the clues.
Which he does have all the clues, yes.
Now, is that the same thing that Hawk says to him, basically?
Hawk tells him that he's on the path. So, yeah, basically. And honestly, that's basically the same thing that the old bellhop says. A frustrated Cooper leaves the room to think things over in the hallway, where he just happens to encounter Senor Drools-a-Lot. He's carrying a glass of milk, call back to that night that Cooper was shot. The old man, speaking in a painfully obvious metaphor, tells Cooper that the milk is getting warmer now. Cooper is oddly distant. Do we get Cooper in every scene? Not every scene. No, but we get a lot of Cooper.
A lot of Cooper, though. Yeah.
Oddly distant as the cops are tossing Ben Horn's office for evidence. Truman produces records that show a phone call from the office to Laura's number the night of her death, and both men note the presence of the stuffed white fox. Truman is convinced by all the circumstantial evidence that the real culprit is Ben Horn. Albert shows up to confirm that Maddie died between 10 p.m. and midnight and produces the results of Ben Horn's blood test, which we, the audience, are not privy to learning. Back at the sheriff's station, a creepy sprinkler technician eavesdrops on Andy and Lucy's baby drama. After a lot of talk about sperms and dick, Andy marches over to the phone and places a call directly to menswear at Horn's department store and lets Mr. Tremaine know in no uncertain terms that they need to meet and hash this shit out. if that's okay with him.
I'm just gonna throw out this now that I've seen the episode. This whole fire alarm thing is the fucking weakest, awfulest fucking plot device. Like,
Pretty heavy foreshadowing going on, isn't
it's
it?
just like, holy shit, weak.
Yeah. What does it all mean? Dude. Anyway, Lucy is clearly impressed by Andy's take charge attitude until he goes and fumbles the ball at the 1 yard line there.
Yeah, she was really happy, and then
She was. I mean,
as long as unless he's busy, and she's just
let's
like,
not forget that Andy is the dude that straight up plugged Jacques Rougeau when he was about to murder the sheriff.
Right.
Andy is stone cold when the situation calls for it. But thankfully for him, that's not all that often. And the holding cells, an increasingly disheveled Ben Horn is visited by Toja Mura.
Toe being operative.
Jamura, yeah. You think she planned that all along?
Toe Jam
era and Earl.
Oh my god!
Ooh,
I was wondering how this was going to play out. I did not see this one coming. Like I didn't see her like. As soon as she pulled the foot out, I 100% thought he was going to go down and kiss it. But I was like, I was not seeing that she was actually going to reveal herself to him
in the moment there.
We have a long way to go still. I mean, there's half the season left. Like, I guess we're just going to burn this one. Let's do it.
Oh, yeah, no, this is just a way for Catherine to get the upper hand in these circumstances. So now...
I guess technically she has to.
The underdog.
Because they wrap up the fact with Ben in this situation, so I guess they had to wrap this one up. They had to do it now, technically, because he wouldn't be incarcerated after this episode, so...
Right, so... she's not going to have much leverage over him after things
Toja
wrap up in that regard.
Is this the last time we see Toja Mura?
I can confirm this is the last appearance of Toja Mura on Twin Peaks.
Rest in peace,
and
bruh.
I don't feel guilty in saying that includes the return. Spoiler alert: Mr. Toja Mura does not appear in the return.
That would be hilarious. That would be
too much. Too much.
The ghost of Toja Mura. Yeah.
Toja Mura has a contract for Ben to sign to finalize their deal for the Ghostwood property. When Ben begs off, Toja Mura insists on the return of his $5 million check. When Ben begs off again, Toja Mura removes a shoe to reveal well-pedicured, painted toes. And Ben finally recognizes Catherine through the ridiculous makeup.
I will say, toenail color... Similar color to the lipstick color.
Yes.
I don't know why this is a color that I have just constantly kind of a salmonish. It's just this constant.
Almost coral, I would call it.
Like it's just a color that's. It's also the color. It's like the color palette of the show. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, maybe they just pick it because it stands out from everything else. It definitely stands out against all the red we see. So. Something I noticed is that we get an awful lot of close-ups of Toja Mura, and especially in this day and age, it is impossible to not see that this is just heavy, heavy makeup. I mean, plenty of excuse for watching it on a 35-year-old TV and being fooled by this twist, but anybody who watches it for the first time in this day and age is going to know from the beginning. Yeah, there's not going to be a lot of surprise in that angle for most people anymore. But it's kind of fun reliving it, to be honest.
It's wild, actually, is what it is.
Yeah, it's wild. It's a soap opera plot, is what it is.
Yes.
But anyway, Ben finally recognizes Catherine. Catherine relishes every second of Ben's groveling as he just sucks up to a ridiculously pathetic degree, literally kissing her feet and signing over the contract without any issue, just essentially handing Catherine her victory. As Ben continues to beg her for his desperately needed alibi, protesting that it is the actual truth after all, Catherine hits him with a great line here. We've spent our entire adult lives lying to each other. Why spoil it with the truth now?
Yes, it was a good line.
And then she leaves Ben alone to rage in his cell. Adult lives, it kind of makes me wonder if they've known each other since they were kids. I mean, they both are second-gen Twin Peaks, so
Probably.
who knows?
We need
They
the
might have gone to
prequel. We
high
need the
school.
Twin Peaks, what, 20, or no, 1950s?
Yeah,
60s?
yeah, probably be closer to 60s, 70s if you want to get like
Twin Peaks,
the horn.
1969.
Yeah, like Stranger Things style with Ben and Jerry as the protagonists before they get all
What corrupted them? They were such
money.
pure boys. No, it's that girl
They
dancing
inherited.
in their bedroom.
Oh yeah, what was
It's
her
just
name?
like they were like
Eloise
normal. They
Dombrowski.
were like
Eloise
innocent little
Dombrowski
boys, and then this awful sexual woman came
dancing
in.
with a flashlight on the hook rug.
Anyway,
That goddamn harpy. Definitely wasn't all the money in the whorehouse that they bought.
but that's what they've been chasing.
Meanwhile,
That's why they got the whorehouse, because they've been chasing that moment.
chasing that high the rest of
Yeah,
their
the rest of their
lives.
lives.
Oh,
It's never
dude,
quite made it.
I think we can all relate.
So whorehouses,
Meanwhile,
chasing whores.
that chasing unicorns, man.
Yes.
We're all chasing one unicorn or another.
Sure.
Meanwhile, Donna is making a visit to the Palmer household to drop off a copy of the world's worst song. Leland's genial nature turns slightly more intense when he recognizes that the sunglasses Donna is wearing used to belong to Laura.
I was really sad that they didn't play it.
You'll get another chance.
No, but for this scene would have been so.
I don't agree, oddly enough. That would have been like the inverted power camera. It just would have been the opposite mood of what they were going for here.
Maybe. I guess I just wanted to see it from. I guess I just wanted to see it in a dark and morbid, perverted sense. Like,
yeah,
I know that Leland likes all these. That's kind of. I get. Okay,
yeah,
I get the fact that he's been playing
a minor key version of it, or
well,
something.
no, but he's all been playing. I get that he's all been doing this musical stuff lately, and so it's all kind of the same. It's kind of Bob's music that we've been seeing. He's sang these other songs. He's all been singing these kind of.
I still kind of think of it as it's Leland picking the music, and the music is his tool to disassociate from his body, while Bob takes over. Because we do see the record player. It plays a part in pretty much every murder scene, including. Well, I guess it's not present at the.
I guess, but
the train car.
Doesn't it?
Where the actual murder took place, but it is present at Jacques' cabin where.
Doesn't he put the gum in his mouth and look in the mirror before the dancing?
He does put the gum in his mouth. He does look in the mirror and
we
adjust
see
his
Bob.
tie.
And Bob's all like fake chewing.
Yeah.
Just give him some gum.
But I mean, again, we don't know where the line starts and where it ends. I mean, there are definitely certain scenes where they make it very clear that Bob is 100% in control later on.
I just feel like Leland's never in control.
But we don't know that for sure.
I know that.
Because he discusses later on that he doesn't understand. Well, we'll get to it. That's a discussion for later. But anyway, Leland continues to grow agitated as Donna mentions Laura's secret diary that Harold Smith kept. He excuses himself to answer the phone. It's Maddie's parents calling to inquire about her whereabouts. Donna is clearly beginning to grow uneasy, but Leland dismisses her concern and goes off to fetch them some lemonade, stopping to adjust his tie in the mirror.
Oh, this is the gum.
I think we all know what he sees there. No, the gum comes later.
Oh, does it?
Yeah. Right now he's just twitching and kind of like gnashing his teeth. Yeah, the gum doesn't come until after. Or no, you're right. He puts
Bob's
the gum in his mouth.
his teeth.
Yeah, no.
Leland is chewing gum.
Leland puts the gum in his mouth when he comes back into the room after hanging up the phone. And then we did the cut to commercial and cut right back to the same scene, which is pretty rare for Twin Peaks. Usually they will switch the scene during a commercial break like that, especially a fade-out one.
Tim Hunter. What a director. Dutch angles.
Tim Hunter.
That's where he went wrong.
Dutch angles, continuity.
It's a
No
second
wonder this
episode.
guy's had such a long
It's
career.
a
It
second
is his
episode,
second
and there was
episode,
no
and he
Dutch.
does have
I don't think there was any Dutch angles in his first episode. So
no, but we did get a llama.
okay, well, that's okay with me.
I did go back and look at the notes I had from his first episode to see if there was anything weird about it. There wasn't anything I noticed in particular, but yeah, maybe we'll go back like during each director's last episodes and we'll do some retrospectives on them.
I'd be curious. Do you have the scripts for these? Is there any kind of like?
I'm sure they're online
Oh,
somewhere.
I
Probably on
was
the
just
wiki.
curious if like some of this stuff is like written in like some of the stuff. I'm just curious if they made
Like which stuff
some of
in
the
particular?
angles and like some of the angle
Oh,
calls and stuff.
I don't. I kind of doubt it. That seems oddly controlling for when Lynch.
It is, but like this because this episode seems so lynchy, or maybe he just decided to ratchet up the Lynch after his last episode. I'm just curious about that.
Hmm. I mean, he does have much different material to work with here. He's got a ton of exposition to deal with of both the practical and supernatural variety.
What was the episode? His previous episode?
It was episode 5 of season 1, which
Right.
was where they first encounter the one-armed man.
Okay.
They catch up to him at like the travel lodge,
Okay.
and then they also.
So they catch
What
up to
else
him,
happened?
and that's where Ben and Catherine are going at it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're in
Where Andy drops his gun and they hit the
Drops
shooting
his gun.
range later.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, that was Tim Hunter's previous work, and he does have one more episode
Yeah, that was
before
kind
the
of a
end
boring
of the
episode, as I
original.
remember it.
It did a lot to establish certain characteristics.
Sure.
That was more of a development episode than a plot moving episode. We did get to see a lot of the Cooper Andy dynamic there, and also just like Cooper further ingratiating himself with local law enforcement and just kind of being considered one of the boys.
The Cooper Andy dynamic, which we have seen none of since.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't seen much of the Cooper Audrey dynamic either. So
Audrey, is she? I thought she quit the show. I couldn't even tell that. Was she even in the show?
no. I mean, she gets her own storylines later.
Cool.
It's just I'll leave you to decide whether or not they're any good.
The Bookhouse Girls. Anyway,
Nothing so fun. I wish.
Making soup. Okay, cool.
Leland startles Donna on his return to the living room with a creepy hair caress as the ominous background music continues to swell louder. But Leland insists on maintaining his false sense of cheerfulness, encouraging Donna to lighten up using his favorite method of dancing. Dancing. Sorry about that. Leland places a record on the vintage Victrola, but as the camera pans up, it's Bob we see quivering with anticipation and screaming at a blast of lightning that appears suddenly on an otherwise sunny day, although Donna doesn't appear to see it. Nor does she seem to have any inclination of Leland's dark passenger, as he continues to charm her into a dance, which starts off innocent but quickly turns sinister as Leland pulls her in closely for a tight and unyielding embrace. That was really uncomfortable, particularly in this day and age when you understand how common that sort of thing is.
It seemed pretty forced and cringe, though. It didn't seem like natural. I don't know. Like watching it, just like it's just something you just knew he was gonna do it. I was just waiting for it.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It
I mean, honestly, what you were waiting for is for him to just go right for the throat.
Well, I kind of thought it would be, I would have played it way differently, but whatever,
Yeah. They had options to work with. The ringing doorbell spares Donna from Laura and Maddie's fate as Sheriff
Saved
Truman
by
has
the
arrived.
Truman.
Yeah. He's arrived to let Leland know that there's been another murder and they need his help.
He couldn't possibly look to the right and just see her in the living room. Couldn't just like notice that she's like freaking
Not
out.
only that, but Leland came all the way back into the house before he greeted Truman by saying,
exactly.
Harry.
Oh, yeah. It's like
why didn't they have this conversation on
at the
the
door
porch?
and just leave.
Yeah.
Let's bring them all
That
the way
was
in.
odd.
It's just like don't look over there, Truman. Whatever
The
you
reason
do.
for that, and I can tell you right now, the reason for that is because they were filming on a set.
Oh, sure.
And I actually learned from some of the extras on this disc of the DVD that I'm working on, excuse me, that there was actually quite a lot more set filming than like sets built in LA
But I still think
on
Truman
soundstage
should have
filming.
noticed.
Oh, I
Like
agree
within the
completely.
continuity of that set, they
Yeah.
should have we should have acknowledged
I mean,
this.
she should have been standing in his line of vision,
But oh well.
but
You know, there's
regardless,
something else I'm just thinking about now that I'm going back to the episode, and we're talking about music and a lot of eerie music. They actually don't rely on the theme that much in this episode. Like at the end,
no,
like in the
just
you
during
know
the
in the
really
opening and
sad
the end.
spots.
But like
Yeah.
usually they kind of have a moment where it swells. There was not of that this time, if I can remember correctly.
There's usually 2 or 3 of those an episode. But we do get like that low, like C sharp or whatever the
version.
evil sounding note
Right.
is. We get that pretty constantly in any scene that Leland is in.
Like we didn't even get it in the love scene with James and Donna. Like you would think that they swell
Right
it.
during that early morning breakfast.
Didn't get it there.
I don't even remember what kind of music we got. I think it was a variation on the theme.
Maybe
One of like the much more subdued and subtle ones.
song. I hope it's a variation of their song. That would have been.
I don't think we get any of those.
We should have those.
I think we only have the one version.
They should have done. See, that's what they're doing wrong, Gabe.
Yeah, they're missing out. Leland departs immediately with the sheriff as Donna seems to be putting 2 and 2 together. Maybe even adding another 2 for 6, as I think she noticed that Leland did not mention Maddie's absence to Harry at all. She goes for a very long walk to meet James by the lake and fill him in on what she's learned. James does not take the news of Maddie's death well, going completely nihilist. This is no good. Nothing matters. I've got to leave. It doesn't matter if we're happy and the rest of the world goes to hell. He then immediately gets on his bike and abandons the woman that he had told just that morning. Excuse me. That he had told just that morning that he thought he should be together with all the time.
Yeah, it was quite the turn. It's quite the
fucking men. Am I right?
I don't even know if that's the I don't know if you can blame that on men. I think you blame that on I don't know what you blame that on, but I think here's the thing. I think you ultimately blame that on the fact that he didn't love her. And he loved Maddie. He loved Laura, and then he loved Maddie. He loved Laura through Maddie. Donna was just his side hustle. But
so Donna's a consolation prize to James, is what you're saying.
When he found out that Maddie, Maddie's still out there, maybe he'll hook up with her at some point. I don't know. I just think that
he does seem to feel responsible somehow, though, because one of the other things he says is that we could have helped her.
Yeah.
And Donna asks him, how? I don't know.
What are you talking about?
We could have helped her.
I mean, Donna was trying to help her, technically. Yeah. And James didn't want to help. Like, all the Harold shit.
Yeah.
James is an awful character, and he can't act.
And it gets worse from
in A Few Good Men, is basically his best line is, "What did we do wrong? We did nothing wrong." That's basically the limit of his acting ability in probably the greatest scene he'll ever have. And there you go. That's his
at least the most famous one. Wasn't there another movie in the 90s where he plays like a cage fighter or some MMA precursor?
I actually saw him in something else recently, and I can't fucking remember. I should have wrote it down. I did see something recently, an old movie.
Yeah, we'll look him up later.
But anyway,
we got time after the wrap up.
But yeah, just kind of they just really didn't want to write this scene, and I actually feel bad for the guy who plays James, which I think his name is also James, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. I forget. James Marshall, yes.
But I don't think it's all his fault. I think the writers don't know what to do with him, and they just kind of wanted to get him out of there.
Yeah, it's a typical teenage tantrum is what it is.
Right, but it could
You
have been
know,
handled so much better.
James has already proven that he's not good at handling his feelings yet. He's a young man. That's
Yeah, but
understandable.
I would have had him do the tantrum in a sense,
Like he
quietly.
did. I mean, he did the same thing when Laura died. He ran away.
Sure, but I think
So,
you play into the fact that he did care about Maddie, and then you have Donna push him away. Like he's
hmm,
kind of they're at the lake. He like hears about it. He's like really broken up about it. He's kind of like he's quiet, and she's like, "What?" And then she knows, and then she just gets kind of upset, and then they kind of argue, and then he takes off. And, like that's all you need to do. You don't need to do this like crazy fucking nihilistic like the end of the world's
yeah,
coming. It
where
doesn't
he
matter
just
if we're
gives
together.
up on everything that he
Like
enjoys in life because two friends got murdered.
it's like
Yeah,
if that's really your
it's
opinion, you should just fucking leave town, and you should never come back to this show because that's.
it's a pretty supreme
And I
overreaction.
think that's more on the writers than him. So anyway.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% there. Um, James will also get plenty of material going forward with the rest of the series, but again,
I love Riverdale.
the quality
I
of
mean,
that
Twin Peaks.
material. Oh, you wish it was
Riverdale?
Riverdale quality.
Dude,
You wish it was that good.
Riverdale is pretty good. Anyway.
And like I'm saying, that's not knocking on Riverdale. That's knocking on James's storyline going forward.
Fun. All right.
Now the lightning has crossed over into the real world as clouds are rolling in over the roadhouse. Cooper is assembling a motley crew to finally bring an end to this case. Fun story, when I use the phrase motley crew in my voice notes, it adds the umlauts like the band would. Doesn't actually, and uses CRUE. It doesn't actually use
Oh, that's funny.
what is a legitimate phrase. Fun stuff.
Because you use Motley Crue
Living
so
in,
much because you're a big fan. And you're always texting
honestly, I
about
think
Motley Crue. And I know you're
it,
not, but
it probably comes up more frequently in voice notes than the other version would, honestly.
sure.
The lineup is pretty interesting. Albert's getting drunk, while Ben Horn won't let his handcuffs stop him from going to town on the free peanuts. And now Truman shows up with Leland. Big Ed
I
is.
did have one note before we get into this. I
Oh
feel
yeah.
like this episode has been pretty heavy-handed. Like we kind of know where it's going.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of feel
Yeah.
could we have handled this better? Like
It feels forced.
Forrest, but
It's a
like it's like
forced tying off of
like
certain plot
we know
threads.
this. I mean, I feel like even Donna knows he's the killer. Like
I think she figured it out at this point.
right.
Yeah.
It's like
So I
why are we
mean,
being drugged into this weird? Now we're gonna anyway. Go ahead with the rest of this, but I just feel like we know. Don't we
yeah,
not have it anyway?
but
And maybe
they
that's the
don't.
thing.
And we've
Maybe
got to go on this journey with them, you know,
I guess so. Yes.
because we have all this spoon fed to us. You know, we didn't learn it from dreams and riddles told to us by backwards speaking dwarves in dreams. So
Magic. I hear. Anyway, go ahead.
we got to go on this. Yeah, it's a magic carpet ride. We've all got to go along with.
Dun, dun. Anyway,
Big Ed is next to arrive. I bet you he loves him some Steppenwolf.
I just got the
But
greatest
yeah.
hits on vinyl for
Oh, yeah.
$2.
Ooh,
So good.
shit.
So good.
Good shit.
Anyway.
Deep cuts of theirs are good too.
Oh
I've
yeah,
had a few
100%.
pop
Like
up on my Apple Music.
100%.
Hmm. Anyway, enough with the '70s rock tangent. Big Ed shows up just to perform some physical labor by moving some tables out of the way. The lightning grows more intense as Hawk enters with Bobby and a wheelchair-bound Leo. Cooper then makes his big "the killer is in this room" speech, telling those assembled that since all of his other investigative methods have failed, he's now going to resort to magic. He just straight up admits it. Gotta love that. He is an honest dude if he's
Standard
nothing else.
FBI tactic. Magic. It's number 8 on the list of things the
Right,
FBI
yeah.
do. Like
Right after a roll for initiative. The word magic is dramatically punctuated with another burst of lightning and thunder. We get some witty quips from Ben and Albert before Truman wonders aloud, "Now what?" Which Cooper then confesses, "Well, Not entirely sure. He does mention that it feels like someone is missing. As soon as the clock strikes 3, our final guests arrive. It's Major Briggs, leading the elderly bellhop by the arm. The bellhop heads directly to Cooper and, with a broad smile, offers him a stick of gum. Leland quickly recognizes the brand of gum as an old childhood favorite of his. That's my most favorite gum in the world, he says. And then the bellhop tells Leland, that gum you like is going to come back in style. And freeze.
I know.
Time for Cooper as he recognizes the words from the little man in his dream. We get a still shot of everyone in the room lit by a flash of lightning ending on Cooper's close-up as the memory of his dream is at last unlocked. Laura whispers in old man Cooper's ear,
If you didn't know this yet,
you haven't been paying
pay
attention. My father killed me. Ba, ba, ba. Suddenly, Cooper is alone in the roadhouse, and the giant fades into view. He reaches out his hand and drops Cooper's ring to the floor, then fades away just as quickly. Cooper returns to reality and picks up his ring from the floor, announcing that he'd like to bring Ben Horn back to the sheriff's station, and he suggests that Leland accompany him as his attorney. The remaining attendees crowd together and stare on in disbelief, and Cooper gives a big old thumbs up to the bellhop on his way out the door, who offers him a salute in return.
okay, so like,
Cooper's
there's a lot,
thumbs up.
there's a lot of things I want to say right here. So
this is a big scene.
Just the thumbs up. First of all, just like the best like '80s action flick thumbs up from Coop.
Oh God, amazing, perfect. Timing is great. The smile is great. The flash of lightning that goes with it.
Okay,
it's an iconic image in this series. And it's very representative of him as a character.
So then, I guess my really only big thing that I really wanted to talk about in this scene is that Coop insisting that Leland come as his counsel, which is bizarre in a sense because Ben Horn already has counsel and his brother's trying to get him better counsel. So Coop is just kind of, because Bob has no concept of probably the laws of,
yeah, and Leland seems,
it's just like, okay, I'm just going to go along with them because it seems like the right thing to do as counsel. But it's like, Ben Horn could be like, fuck that. Or, there's all this.
This is Leland's daughter is the victim of this crime.
Like, I think you could be like, well, I don't really feel like I don't want to be counsel for this crime. Like, I feel like if you were a smarter person, you would realize, well, he's not my.
Yeah,
it's a very interesting choice to like kind of,
because Bob is in charge here, and
right. That's what I'm saying.
Cooper's outwitting him in a sense.
That's right. That's what I think. I think Coop is like trying and is betting on the fact that Bob is in charge, and that Bob would be like, "Oh yeah, okay," because I think Leland would be like, "Well, I'm not his counsel. I don't. That's not. That's not my jurisdiction. I'm not. I shouldn't. He's got somebody. I think that's a very thin line that they're going with there. But I just in most crime stuff nowadays, that shit is so like kind of, because it's so much more apparent nowadays. Because they like to get you on the little things.
Yeah,
this is a little.
It's
thing.
another. It's the whole argument about how many plot lines would fall apart with the invention of the cell phone,
Exactly. Oh, 100%. Exactly.
Right.
So I was just thinking like, well, why would Leland do that? But it's got to be that Bob's going along just thinking that that's the right thing to do.
I think that makes perfect sense.
I think that's the only way this
works.
I
doubt anybody in the writer's room
well, I don't
even
know.
bothered to consider that.
Maybe not. I don't know, but I just feel like.
But it does. It's logical.
Why would the FBI agent... I mean, the FBI agent doesn't care. Like, here's the other thing. Law very, that's
Magic told him that Leland.
I know, sure, but Law very rarely gives a shit about a lawyer being around. That's the other thing.
Right.
Like,
In
this is
fact, it usually benefits them when they're not.
Exactly. So you also then got to question that. So if you're from another world, you wouldn't question that. But
Right.
it would have been more interesting if Leland kind of. I'd have to watch it again if Leland was very kind of like, huh? You know, if he kind of, that would be fun to like kind of hammer that fact home, like, but wouldn't argue it because his life's in danger. He thinks his life is on the line. He's going to get hung out to dry. You know?
Right.
But
yeah,
he would feel like, oh, I would anyway. I don't know. There's a lot of little things that I think are really awesome in this that I would really like. Those are the things I would have developed versus some of the shit they chose to develop into other things. But
right.
Anyway, that's all here or there, or like, you know, that doesn't help now. But it's just interesting to look back at this old show and be like, man, this actually could have been a really awesome show. And I'm hoping the return is a reflection of that. But I still think that this version of this show, this old show, could be remade in a way that would be like, much, a lot more solid, you know, a little bit more bulletproof. But anyway, that's what I see when I watch it. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. Oh, what could have been.
Yes. All that.
But no, I also see you appreciating it for what it is in a lot of respects too.
Oh, sure.
So don't sell yourself short.
What is the actor that plays Leland?
Ray Wise.
Like a lot of his previous stuff, I always thought it was kind of over the top and weird. Now that you know that he's possessed by this guy, and then going into this scene, like this next sequence we're gonna get is like awesome. He like really nails this next sequence.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he inhabits Bob in every
both,
single
even him
way.
and him, Bob and himself.
Yeah, and it really is another brilliant demonstration of his range, and it's unfortunate that this is the last we see of him in the original series.
Because in Fire Walk with Me,
there is Fire Walk with Me. Yes.
Gotcha. He's not in the return, is what you're saying. Doesn't come back. He doesn't come back dressed up as Tojimura.
We've established that I'm not saying anything about the cast of The Return at all.
Except for Tojimura.
Until we have gone through Fire Walk with Me and the Missing Pieces.
Gotcha. All right.
So, except for Tojimura, I will have spoiled that for everybody.
So we get the thumbs up. Unless you have something else you wanted to add that you wanted to talk
not in particular about this scene. A lot of I noticed a lot of the Dutch angles here too, but again, that's to add to the surrealism of it all.
Oh, you said, I don't know if this is for the end of the show, but you said there was something about Ed, like why Ed.
Yeah, we'll save that for the end.
Okay.
Because it ties into other behind the scenes stuff about like the reveal of the murderer and stuff like that. So,
all right.
Yeah, we'll revisit that again later. Returning to the sheriff's station, Cooper instructs them to take Ben down to the interrogation area and affirms to Leland that he intends to charge Ben. Cooper stops Harry before they head down the room and whispers something in his ear.
My father killed me.
At the door to the interrogation room, they pull the old switcheroo and shove Leland in instead and bolt the door behind him. Leland instantly loses his shit, tearing off his clothes, going animalistic, throwing himself into the walls, and screaming at the top of his lungs.
I thought he was going to break one of the other walls, because like one of those walls fucking was moving. It was just like
it was like wobble. Like, man, he was committing. Ben expresses his shock at his longtime lawyer's behavior. Hawk succinctly points out that's not Leland. We can all see that Bob is 100% in charge of that body now. When Harry rightfully points out that dream accusations aren't necessarily evidence, Cooper insists he's going to be able to get a confession.
Well, of course.
And now we get the four lawmen in the interrogation room with Bob as Leland, who is handcuffed and giggling madly while Hawk steadily holds a gun on him. Hawk was intense in this scene without saying a word, man. Like, you could just see on his face that he understood the seriousness of the situation in all of its forms. You know, being the mystic Native American that he is, because they can all see into the spirit world and shit.
Because that's Indians for you. They all right? Native Americans. Also me as a Native American, though. we can all mystically see into the future. So,
Right? Yeah. Tell us about your vision quest when you became a man.
no,
I've heard starvation is a great hallucinogenic.
I had a soul retrieval when I was in, what was that? I think it was 20? Yeah.
Oh, I'm not sure what that is, but I'm curious to hear the story later.
Someday.
Someday,
Someday.
maybe. Cooper immediately asks, "What's on everybody's mind? Did you kill Laura Palmer?" Bob responds with a series of hoots that he affirms is a yes. He also confesses to Maddie's murder and admits to a fondness for knives, and then references Cooper's stabbing in Pittsburgh, which clearly unnerves him and throws him off, but Cooper carries on nonetheless. I got real Exorcist vibes from that, you know. How does this guy know stuff that he couldn't possibly know?
Well, I have questions about that. So, but that comes towards the end. So, anyway.
Yeah. That involved Gordon Cooper yelling the whole story through the walls and Leland maybe being in the office at the time.
No, there's other things I'm curious about. I'll have
Okay.
questions after we
Yeah,
wrap this
we'll,
up.
we'll go on. Bob claims that Leland has been a good vehicle, but now he's old and full of holes, and it's time to shuffle on up to Buffalo. Cooper asks about Leland's awareness of Bob's actions. Bob confirms that Leland isn't aware when he's in the driver's seat, but he's going to make sure that he knows everything when he goes. After a couple more hoots, Bob sinks into unconsciousness, feigned or otherwise. Harry's decided that he's had enough for now and leaves the room. Everyone else follows suit, Hawk never taking his eyes off of Leland until he turns to exit. More to go?
Enter shitty plot device.
Oh, God, yeah. This is what we call in wrestling the breather match, or the piss break. But what it is a little break from all the bleak in this episode as Dick Tremaine arrives to have his sit down with Andy and Lucy.
Yeah, but it sets up all the other awful. It's the catalyst plot device.
Everything's got to be connected, right? Everything's connected. Lucy announces that she plans to keep the baby and that they will not do the blood type test to determine the father until after the baby is born. Up until then, she expects both gentlemen to cooperate. Not sure what she means by that. Do we get like a Dad Warrior Ninja kind of competition coming up or something here?
Or a DP? Who knows?
A little more little spit roast.
Eiffel Tower.
Little foreshadowing. Little foreshadowing as the camera follows the smoke from Dick's cigarette up toward the newly installed smoke detectors.
Oh, what's going to happen, you say?
Who knows?
And I was just like, come on.
In the hallway, excuse me. In the hallway outside in the interrogation room, Albert also lights one up as Cooper fills in the gang with a whole bunch of exposition. The little man dancing in his dream was a reference to Leland's compulsive dancing. The family name of Robertson that Leland had brought up during his description of Bob in the old house by his grandparents referred to Bob's tendency to call those that he possessed his children, and the letters under the fingernails spelling out that very surname. Leland was the one who called Laura from Ben Horn's office on the night of her death, and he was the third man at Jacques Renault's cabin who took the two girls to the train car. Bob/Leland has come to in his cell, reciting the Fire Walk With Me poem, and the same brief monologue from Cooper's dream where he vows to kill again. As the law enforcement quartet go to leave, Coop is stopped by a beeping noise and looks to the ceiling just to get sprayed right in the face from one of the new sprinklers. Bob/Leland is also getting doused in his cell, and he doesn't seem to like it very much as he screams in both Leland's form and in his own. So I've always been curious, like dating back to when I first saw this scene, what exactly do you think it is that set him off? Like, is it just getting wet? Like, I know there are like all these ancient stories about like evil spirits can't cross running water or stuff like that. That
It could
kind
be
of
as
dates back to
easily.
Middle Ages
It
stuff.
could be easy as like
It's
fucking
something they
Wizard of
use in
Oz, like
yeah,
water
well,
and witches. I don't know.
that's something they use in Sleepy Hollow. Is that the headless horseman can't cross the bridge because he can't cross running water. So maybe that's the reference that we're making here, is that this water is going to wash Bob out of Leland's body. But on the other hand, we already know he was looking to escape, so maybe he's just using this as chaos to, to take advantage of that and, use it to his advantage.
See, that's
That
what
was
I
kind of
don't.
redundant.
I I think
Yeah, it's obviously the catalyst for what happens next, but why it triggers these events, I don't think they adequately explain that.
I don't think that's what it is. I think it has nothing to do with the water. I think the water is chaos, whatever. I think he has to kill the vessel to leave. That's why he's running into the wall.
Mm. Well, I don't disagree with you there, but why does he choose that moment? Like,
It's crazy.
why
It's
does the
fire. He's
water
gonna
make him
die. I
scream?
don't know.
Like,
I feel like that's just
why do they cut to the scene of Bob like
right.
standing in the water, like
I think that's all
screaming?
dumb.
Like,
Honestly, I don't think they have any fucking clue. I think this is all bullshit.
that's just animalistic.
I don't know. He was being crazy before that. He was running into the wall and shit. So
Yeah, and just
now
kind of hooting. So,
other shit's going
I mean, we've
on.
already established that he's not entirely human, so we shouldn't necessarily expect human behavior or any kind of logic to dictate that.
I have no idea. Did they ever actually
Then
explain this?
no,
No. So I don't think they know. Then.
spoiler, no.
They don't know then.
He then begins to smash himself headfirst into the door like a battering ram as Cooper and Truman slip and slide, struggling to open it from the other side of the door. Once they finally get inside, they are far too late as the damage has been done. Bob is gone, and true to his word, he has flooded Leland's memories with the atrocities that he has committed under Bob's control. Leland tells the story of how Bob invaded his mind when he was just a boy. He also confirms that Bob, or whoever they is, forced him to kill Laura because she would not allow herself to become possessed as well.
Okay, that's something I want to focus on. Well, we don't have to
Okay.
talk about it now, but they. There's a
Yeah.
grander group of they.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I want. We can talk about it after we finish doing the rundown of this episode. But
Mm-hmm.
there is a they. It's what
There is a they.
Okay, we can continue on.
As Leland wails in anguish, Albert shakes his head at Cooper and Harry. Leland doesn't have long for this world. Cooper gives Leland a verbose, metaphysical, but deeply compassionate speech. I won't go into it word for word here, but it's something else. It really is.
Right. I was like, what the fuck is Cooper saying?
It's. I'm sure it's rooted in Tibetan philosophy
Clearly
somewhere.
standard FBI protocol. Standard FBI protocol to.
I've heard the concept. I have heard the concept of without circumference or center. That's a term I've heard come up in some Buddhist literature that I've read in the past. So it's just one of those turns of phrase that they try to use people to. I mean, I really think it's a good way to express that concept to a logical mind. But the whole speech ends with Cooper encouraging Leland to go into the light, which he repeats gently. Leland mumbles that he sees Laura there in the light before he passes away in Cooper's arms, unafraid and at peace. Oh, excuse me again, folks. Ooh, dry throat this episode. Cooper's sorrow is tangible as the sprinklers finally stop raining on everyone. Yeah, this was an intense scene for Albert, too. Like, when you get a couple of shots, you can tell that Albert is affected by the whole situation. And you can tell it without any dialogue, just by the look on his face and by I noticed it by the motion of his diaphragm and like his heavy breathing.
It is interesting too
But
because
Truman,
he's not asked to do much in this episode. He's just kind of
no,
wall candy.
but
He has a couple scenes where he
is.
talks, but he's mostly just kind of wall candy. It's interesting.
But all of his gestures just seem so well thought out and so in character for him too.
I'm pretty much sure that's all him. I'm sure that has nothing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Honestly,
Oh yeah. 100%. That is just him doing his thing, and it's an indication of what a great actor Miguel Ferrer really was. R.I.P. to that guy. Major Briggs meets Albert, Cooper, and Harry on the trail as they all try to make sense of what they've just seen. Harry leans
I
toward.
like how they meet him, but he doesn't say anything. They kind of walking. They see him.
Yeah,
They go back to them
well, it's
walking,
kind of
and they
like
all
they're
kind of
expecting to
separate.
see him. They're just like, oh yeah, yeah. Why wasn't Hawk a part of this conversation? You know, I thought he was in for all of this kind of metaphysical stuff.
Right.
Guess he wasn't available for filming that day. I'm pretty sure this was just in some park in LA. It is way too sunny for Washington in March. Harry leans toward the pragmatic explanation of insanity, while Albert uncharacteristically harps on the supernatural aspect of Bob appearing in multiple people's dreams and visions.
Right. And I comment, I like how the government is more open minded than the rest of the people.
Right? Yeah. Because, yeah, Albert is clearly affected by what he's seen in this episode as well. You
and
know,
Colonel Briggs
maybe
clearly
Major
Briggs clearly
Yeah,
believes.
don't promote the dude just yet.
Sorry. And then and obviously Coop. It's like the whole like United States government, federal. Yeah, we believe in this shit, dude.
Right? Yeah.
What's wrong with you, Truman?
And this was a couple years before the X-Files yet, too. So
It's just funny.
it is funny. Major Briggs offers some Shakespearean pearls of wisdom. Harry expresses his struggle to accept a less than scientific explanation. Cooper counters by wondering if it's any more comforting to think that a father would rape and murder his own daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Major Briggs asks if it matters what the cause of evil is, and Cooper answers, quote, yes, because it's our job to stop it. You know, I guess we can see that Cooper is very...
Cooper had a cup of coffee.
That really explains.
He had a cup of coffee.
Probably donuts in the bag.
I was hoping it was a box. I think it was a box, wasn't it? Was the bag? I don't know.
It looked like a box in a sideways bag.
I was hoping that he would open it and take a donut out. I was really because we didn't get any donut. We got coffee. We didn't get no donuts in this episode, so I was really hoping he would pull a donut out. Little miss. Anyway, that's stupid.
Donuts are for far more cheerful episodes than these.
I mean, technically they won.
Yeah, but was it really a victory or was it a Pyrrhic victory here?
Exactly.
Albert offers the compromise of an explanation. Bob as a metaphor, the embodiment of the evil that men do. Harry then leaves us all with an ominous thought. What if Bob is real? Or if Bob is real, and if he did escape, then where is he now?
Cut to.
We get a suggestion of an answer as we get a point of view from what may or may not be an evil owl possessed by Bob.
Well, we get a spirit, and then it gets
an awful lot.
I feel like the spirit is moving around, and then it takes the form of the owl.
Oh, kind of like Evil Dead style.
Yeah, and then in my head, I'm thinking, so he's an owl now. It's the court of owls. Let's just let Batman deal with it. It's just as absurd. My other comment is, this could have easily been the final episode. Save money, cut your losses, move on to something new. Like, we did not need to go on past this. We could have just called it quits here. We could have called it quits.
I am going to argue with you that the ending of the original series is far more memorable than this episode is.
Yeah, but is the final episode of this season as memorable?
The final episode of this season is the final episode of the original series.
But is it that... Oh, so you're saying that episode is more memorable?
Yes.
I thought you were saying the first season was more memorable. My bad.
No.
Well, I just feel like... what? I'm cool. I would be cool with it just being done. Like, okay, cool.
I mean, and I think that's the intention of where they wrote it. I mean, at this point, they're probably not sure if they're even going to get canceled or not once they've wrapped up the mystery.
Okay.
I mean, the ratings have dipped a bit since that reveal, but they're holding steady.
Steady.
So, you know.
All right.
So, okay, do you want to talk about they now?
All right. So there's multiple of these people. Are they, or these energies or aliens or whatever they are?
We can just use spirits for the lack of a
Spirits.
better term.
Apparitions. What does Ghostbusters use? Class. Anyway, never mind. Just kidding. We don't go that far.
Yeah.
But now, are we? They're like Bob and they're like Mike. Are they all like Bob? They're a mixture. We don't know. So my ultimate question is
concrete explanation of that.
Honestly, my only.
I think all that we really understand in the end after everything is that Bob does not act alone.
Sure, and Mike is one of them, and Mike
has renounced their ways.
Right. And you probably can't answer this. But is Cooper one of them? Cooper's got to be one of them.
What do you mean?
He's got to be one of the they.
How do you figure?
He's in tune with them. He sees all their visions. I mean, maybe he's shut off from them because he left them. But, I think the only thing that is, he's got to be one of them. Why was that never explored? If this is not something that happened, why is that never explored? Because he's also, I get the Buddhism thing a little bit. They brought it in one episode back in the first season, and then they decided to bring it back. But, right then, when he's, comforting Leland, that, seems like he's one of them. It really seems like a moment of, he's, on the Mike side. He's, the good side of that. There's two different sides of that. And maybe he doesn't know it. But
oh, okay.
Maybe he doesn't know it, but, there's the good version and there's the bad version. And
I don't think it's fair to consider Cooper one of the they that Bob
okay, 100%.
That Leland is talking about.
Okay. I'm talking about the general populace of the apparitions. If we talk about the dark and the light, I'm saying he's part of the light.
Possessed by a good spirit, like the giant.
Side of the light. Yeah, the giant, the ones that are trying to help him, the guy, the dude with the milk, all the magical people that show up to help him. He's a lost one, but I don't know.
That's a fascinating theory. It is a fascinating theory. I will argue that you probably won't find much evidence going forward to support it.
I'm sure not.
But now that you've put it in my head, I'm going to kind of start looking for stuff that would indicate that.
One that was, it makes an interesting story for this. If we're going to, lean into this idea that there's these other forces out there and that Cooper had this past, and that's why. I mean, obviously they're probably. I don't know. Hopefully they explain why Bob knew his past. But I have to think that whatever past Cooper had is somehow entwined with the dark and the light.
You're not wrong there,
and that
I can tell you that much.
And that I don't know. It just would be more, and the way he is so different than all of them, like Truman, and even he's different than Albert. Though this is a really weird episode for Albert. I mean, because he's so much more for it, which is interesting. He's slowly changed from one side to the other.
Yeah. We don't see anywhere near the same level of caustic behavior from him that we saw in the past.
Right.
I mean, we get the odd little jab here and there.
Because him and Truman were at each other's throats, and now they're just...
They're cordial, yeah.
They don't really give a shit. Anyway, Cooper's always cool and calm. He kind of always knows. And maybe he is. Maybe, or I don't know. There could be an explanation. If there's never an explanation, that's fine. If it's not, that's fine. I just feel like it would have been an interesting thing to explore if he was somehow connected to that energy, and that was how he was so in tune with all of this.
It's like I said, it's a fascinating theory. I can't really share my theory of Cooper with you just now because it would spoil a lot.
Right.
But I will get to it later on, and it does differ from yours a bit. But it's
Well, maybe mine will change, but I
it
just
could,
right
and
now
maybe mine will change
mine right
with
now
more insight
thinking
like that.
just how like
Man,
why is he the only guy that's in tune with all this shit? Why
he's
is
not.
he? He kind of is.
Hawk has demonstrated that
Well, a
he
little
is.
bit. I mean, that's just
Um,
that's just that racist Native American shaman shit, dude.
yeah, but it's him.
Sure.
Sarah has had visions of Bob, so Sarah and Maddie both had visions of Bob, so they're tuned in to a degree.
Maddie did or
Um,
Laura? Laura.
Maddie did, remember? Maddie saw him climbing over the couch, going after her.
Oh, that's right.
And then we're still not sure. I get the feeling that Major Briggs knows a hell of a lot more than he's letting on.
Well, that's another thing. Like, I would say that Major Briggs is one of them because he is so uncharacteristically weird for a
For a
military
military
dude.
man. Yeah, I mean the way that he and Cooper both speak,
Right.
which is highly intelligent and not just a pragmatic, but in a spiritual and metaphysical way.
Like, you could be attuned to it to see it. Like
Yeah,
Maddie and Laura, they saw it, but like I feel like they're on a different level of it, and I just feel
yeah,
like that's got to be
and I
like
don't.
maybe they came down and had sex and then impregnated, and then they had like a half breed, and it came Cooper. Or,
Yeah,
I don't know what
I
that
don't know
is.
that there's so much demigods as they are
I'm
just
sure. I'm sure that's not. But
idealistic figures.
I just feel like your hero is, you know, I feel like sometimes the best, your hero should be in the dark most of the time. But like Cooper's just always in the know. I mean, he's in the dark because the
Well,
show wants him to be in the dark. But
yeah,
he's given so much. Like I don't know. It's just like a thing that I was like, I'm just gonna hit shoot for the fences, pop, and say like, is Cooper one of them? And if that's fine. It doesn't have to be. I'm not like betting it all on black or something here, Gabe. I'm just like,
right.
it's just like it'd
No,
be
you're bringing up
wild. It'd be
again. You're
wild if he
bringing up
was.
something that I never even considered, and I love it. I think that's great.
Anyway,
It would be wild if he was. Start working on your rewrite, baby.
just totally.
Cooper was an angel this whole time,
Damn.
and the real killer was Harold Smith.
Oh, I liked Leland being the killer.
Let's go back to that because we haven't really discussed a lot of the behind the scenes stuff about the reveal. Something that I didn't bring up during that episode was that they actually filmed that scene with 3 actors. They did it with Ray Wise, who was Leland. They did it with Frank Silva, who was Bob. And they did it with Richard Bamer, who was Ben Horn. They did this specifically to prevent any of the cast or crew members from leaking any details to the media. So I think there were only a total of 5 people before filming commenced who knew who the actual character was, that being Lynch, Frost, and the principal actors in
You
the
know
scene.
what? I would have used all 3 of them in some kind of weird, like aggressive, like cut where like they're all kind of
where it all kind of melds together.
Oh, I would have used that, dude.
Here's where Big Ed comes in.
Okay.
There are script pages, also designed as misleading information that reveal Big Ed as the killer.
Oh, that's cool.
So, we'd already touched on the potential involvement of Bobby and Leo, which explains their presence at
That's a tough one.
the seance, for lack of a better term.
That's a tough one because, like, Ed has been pretty much cut from the second season. Like, I mean, you can just drag someone out of the blue and put him in it. That just seems like a fucking massive swing, though. Like, because he's, yeah, I would never have bought that. I would have bought like what is Norma's dude?
Hank.
Hank has had more screen time than fucking Ed's had.
Well, he's a better actor.
It doesn't matter. I'm just saying he's had more. He's had more screen time, but he's on a totally different subplot. So it's like, I don't know. That's a wild to put Ed there. That's crazy.
So I'm going to read you our Log Lady intro for this week here.
Okay.
Because it is just blatantly obvious how this is just Lynch speaking to the audience, telling them how he feels about this episode.
Oh. Okay.
It is, and you will know exactly what I mean as soon as I start getting into it. So, again, touching on this, when Twin Peaks was rerun on the Bravo cable network in '93, David Lynch wrote new introductions for each episode that were performed by Catherine Coulson as the Log Lady. Some of them kind of tied into the episode in ways that you could understand. Some of them were in ways that were only metaphorical or tangential. I'd say this one was pretty heavy-handed. Here we begin. So now the sadness comes. The revelation. There is a depression after an answer is given. It was almost fun not knowing. Yes, now we know. At least we know what we sought in the beginning. But there is still the question, why? And this question will go on and on until the final answer comes. Then the knowing is so full, there is no room for questions. So, yeah, I think in a nutshell, that describes exactly how Lynch felt about having to reveal the killer and why it was important to continue to have some element of mystery to the show, which I feel like he successfully did with the denizens of the Red Room or elsewhere. We might get more details about that as we go on. I mean, and he did it to the effect that, people knew who the killer was, but they still wanted more Twin Peaks bad enough where they brought it back 25 years later to further explore these new mysteries that we're going to get.
Yeah, I think the fact that he brings back Twin Peaks those years later, it invalidates this comment.
Does it though?
I actually don't agree with this comment. I don't,
because again, the only reason people wanted him to bring it back is for more answers.
Sure. Here's the thing. I mean, this episode is handled kind of poorly. I wouldn't have done the owl thing at the end. None of that needed to be explained. We don't need to see any of that. But I think what Albert is saying, or what the dialogue that Albert and Truman are having about evil either being real or not, the evil of man or it being real. I think nowadays that's where you would end it. Like, just you would have that more of a weighty conversation, and then you would end. You would start the next episode, and then new evil would walk into town. And then that is just it. That is just. It's the new character,
But on the other hand, that doesn't necessarily give you the concrete impression that Bob is still out there somewhere. Which I guess is what.
But it doesn't matter because they're not. That's not the dialogue they're really having. I mean, one's having the dialogue of the evil of man, and one's saying, "Yeah, you could have an evil of a man, and we could." Tell the audience that we save a person. You could have a couple episodes where you save a person from evil, and they were not, but maybe there is another person that is evil that's been there, and then I don't know. I just feel like it's different today. I feel like we could have rescued this series. 100%. I not just rescue it, but probably make it better.
I think if they had time, they could have improved it,
But
but they were canceled very
I don't
abruptly.
really feel. I'm not really against them revealing. Like how would that have been better if we just had to be drugged through 22 episodes of like, who's Bob? Like, how tired would we have been at the end of that?
And is Andy's sperm okay?
Yeah, right. Like, we can barely deal with that. Do we think we
And
could handle?
especially in that day and age where mysteries were solved every week. Yeah, I think they had already tested like the public at large's patience
Right.
long enough.
I think so. But I think you could have figured out a way to then get them into another thing. They just didn't do it.
Again, I would go back to The Fugitive, which successfully managed to perpetrate a mystery throughout the end of its entire run.
For 90 minutes. Oh, you're talking about the actual show.
Yes, the actual show. You damn youngin', only thinking of the Harrison Ford film.
Yeah, well, I never watched the original show.
Nor did I, but I understood that mystery endured for the length of the series. So it wasn't completely unheard of at that time. But the
that episode
the popularity of the show.
But that was a very creature of the week, even though it was an overarching. Like, there was still kind of like, befriend somebody, save them from a problem. I'm a good guy. I might be bad.
Yeah,
maybe I got a little clue, but it's not like each episode kind of wraps up, even though the overarching story doesn't. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it still was creature of the week, because I feel like, isn't that what it was? I feel like that's what it was. Like, he would come into a new town. He kind of like, what's a show like A-Team?
Yeah.
Like A-Team.
Like A-Team, or like Incredible Hulk, or
like A-Team's always being chased by the military. So they come in, they do a story, but at the end of the story, they gotta bust out of there because the fucking military shows up, and it's like, oh no, haha, suck dicks, motherfuckers, we made it, and that's kind of until maybe the end where they do a wrap up.
Yeah,
if they're
so lucky. They have that one little carrot that they're dangling throughout the whole series, and I'm sure that's what Lynch intended. Maybe,
but this is different than that, though. This is definitely trying to.
It was different because it went like what passed for viral in that day.
It's doing what soap operas do, and which soap operas have always done. I mean, it is. A lot of it is like you keep kind of saying, well, it's kind of a soap opera. It's like, well, yeah, it's definitely trying to like.
But soap operas ran 4 episodes a week.
Sure, and they're doing it constantly, 100%. But like, but they're like, there's got to be a way to like do comic book storytelling or soap opera storytelling in a way that can continue to keep people engaged. And this show maybe hit with a lot of people, a group of people, but didn't hit with everybody as well. But a large group of people. And it's just the things to come. It was never going to hit it out of the ballpark. You're not going to be perfect your first attempt. But like you look at it and I see the misses, but you also appreciate the wins, And I don't think having Leland die is a loss. I think it's because like I think you look at today, a lot of series, they're like 8-10 episodes. 10 episodes.
Yeah, and I
if we did that cadence and we
Leland is not the killer, Bob is the killer, and Bob is still out there.
Exactly. So you have to just rearm for the next. Yeah. Like this should have been. We had the first season, the second season. We should gear up for the third season. Whatever that is, the writers should have really looked back at what they have done, and then kind of created something. Anyway. Yeah. Whatever. I really appreciate this show, and I think it's cool, and I think it made a lot of us who saw it when we were kids that wanted to become filmmakers and looked at that and saw that, and we were just like, oh man, that's a kind of cool thing, and they kept that in their heads. It's like I want to make a show that's like that. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily what it deals with, but how it deals with storytelling, and that's where we are today. So it's really cool to see that. But like it's interesting to like kind of watch this in retrospect because I've never seen it before. And be like, man, we could have. What would it be like to like kind of go back and kind of retrofit this show, and make it that kind of 8-episode season? Do
Yeah,
we
to
do 3
retell it from a
seasons
modern
in
point of
8
view.
episodes. You know, I don't know. It'd be kind of curious to kind of see what that retooling would look like, and it'd probably finish way different. Honestly, I think it
You'd
would.
have to. Yeah, you can't make it work the same way.
But no, it's cool to see. You know, everyone gives props to their their forefathers, or their the people that came before, and it's just like, this is definitely that episode. You know, when you look at like Sopranos or The Wire or whatever show, Breaking Bad. You know, this show definitely laid that path, and those are the guys that, you know, won massive trophies, whereas this one just just laid a couple cobblestones down so you guys could walk it, you know.
Right.
Anyway, I don't know. I'm just like lecturing now. We should do a lecture series, Gabe.
Lecture series. So we do bid our final farewell to one cast member during this episode. This is the final appearance of Al Strobel in the original series, who plays Mike/Philip Gerard, the one-armed man.
Oh, so we never see him again.
Not in the original series, we don't.
Oh, that's 2 cast members you threw under.
As I've stated, I will not be revealing any members of the casts of The Return until we have completed our run yet.
So he's probably in Firewalk.
So anytime I say
he's in
final
Firewalk.
appearance,
he's in Firewalk.
This is for the original series.
Got you.
Yes, I can confirm that Al Strobel does appear in Firewalk with me.
Got you.
But
we don't know.
This is the last time you will see him until then.
Do they de-age him with like CGI?
You can't say as they do. Firewalk with Me was only 3 years later, so it wasn't necessary.
Oh, I thought it was a prequel. It's after this?
It is a prequel, but it was only filmed 3 years later, so the dude didn't age enough to require CGI.
He might have grew a new arm. I don't know. Part crab. Sorry.
Part crab. Okay, there we go. So
what else we got?
This is the writers on this one were pretty much the committee. We had Mark Frost, Harley Payton, and Robert Engels.
Okay.
Payton and Engels have producers' credits. I don't know if Engels directed any episodes, but I know we've seen Payton direct at least 1 or 2.
One thing I did want to say about Tim Hunter, I know this is his second time, his second episode. He's a director. He's made a lot of like shitty movies later in his career, but before this, he did
shitty movies, more shitty television. But
but some shitty movies too. But he did actually make a movie prior to this, and it's one of Keanu Reeves' first movies called River's Edge. And that's
we did
kind
talk
of,
about this in his first episode.
Did we talk about that? Okay, so it's like I don't remember if we talked about it, but like I just want to make sure that we talked about that again. It's one of his.
Also really well known for being a breakout role for Crispin Glover.
Yes.
And I did want to point out the fact that he went from directing Crispin Glover and Keanu Reeves in their breakout roles 4 years later to directing Jason Priestley and Luke Perry in their breakout roles in the pilot episode. Not just any episode, but the pilot episode of 90210.
I've seen
Tim Hunter was also responsible for that.
But I just remember if we talked about it. I might have been drunk, or I don't know.
You might have been drunk during the recording of one of our episodes.
Come on, Gabe.
So I didn't do this before the episode, but I went ahead and did it now to look up the filmography of Mae Williams, who played Mrs. Tremond V2 in this episode. Her credits are very limited.
I guess you're on the website right now, but like
I am.
What's the lady who drinks all the Mad Men?
Who also directed a bunch of Mad Men besides Tim Hunter?
Yeah.
Leslie Linka Glatter.
Which one has directed more? And do you think that one of them got the other one the job?
For Twin Peaks?
No. For Mad Men. Like who got the first one? It's like, oh hey, I know this other director. She's really
good.
Dude,
I've never seen Mad Men, so I wouldn't know.
Neither have I. All I know is that it's a good show.
I thought you were a big fan of that one, and that's why that caught your attention.
I just know it. I know it really well.
Which one were you all excited about? Oh, that was Homeland, wasn't it?
Homeland is good. Yes,
Yeah,
I like
that was
Homeland
another
a
one
lot.
that.
She does that. She did that one, right? He didn't do that one. He's not done that
No,
one.
yeah, that was. He
Um,
might have done, but like Tim Hunter's credits, Mad Men was the series that he did the most episodes of, with 6.
but she had
And I
she didn't do
think
more. I thought she
I
did
think
more.
she did, I think Leslie Linka Glatter did more.
Oh, okay.
But his MO was only to do 1 or 2 episodes of any given series tops. So like for him to do 6 was highly unusual. And then he did like 4 for Hannibal, I think.
But the guy who did the
And then he
best
did
movie is the guy who did The Wizard, right? And I'm forgetting who that guy is.
Yeah. What was that dude's name? We got to go back to the Twin Peaks page and look for the directors.
I'm going through my notes right now, trying to find it. That's funny.
I'll find it before you do.
Probably.
I'll just look for directors. David Lynch and 13 others.
No, you just
Okay.
search for The Wizard.
Oh, yeah, that would have been smarter. Was that Dwayne Dunham that did The Wizard?
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
No, Dwayne Dunham was the guy that worked with Lucas. And it wasn't Caleb Deschanel. You're right. I'd be faster just looking up The Wizard.
I should have done it. So I would have beat you.
You should have done it. That way,
I shouldn't have.
Why don't? Here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna look up The Wizard, and I'm gonna go over the ratings data that we missed
Okay, I
last
will
week.
look up The Wizard.
So while you're doing that, let's remember that the episode that Laura was, where Leland was revealed as the killer, that one aired on November 10th, 1990. That one earned the big pop of a 10.4 household rating. That's 17.2 million viewers, 20% household share, a rank of 51 for the week. The following week, which was last week's episode for us, ratings dropped about 20%. We saw a drop to a rating of 8.2, 13.3 million viewers, household share of 16%, rank on the week of 70. The weekend of November 24th, the series was preempted, likely due to some holiday-related coverage to Thanksgiving. They picked up in December 1st. That is this week's episode that we're talking here. Rating didn't dip too much, held pretty steady. We've got a 7.9 with 12.4 million viewers, 15% share, 72 ranked for the week. What do we got about The Wizard?
Todd Holland.
Todd Holland.
How many more episodes do we have of him?
Todd Holland.
This was the
only
guy
did
I was
2
really impressed with.
episodes,
He did 50
unfortunately.
episodes of The Larry Sanders Show and 26 episodes of Malcolm in the Middle. Like this guy.
Yes, I forgot. Yeah, he was
This
a comedy
guy. Fucking yeah, this is the funny guy. There was all that unneeded comedy in that episode.
We do get one more episode from him before the series is out.
Yeah, baby.
That will be episode 13. So it's a few weeks away.
Cool.
But
that's
not
funny.
a lot of directors. So our most prolific directors on the series were naturally Lynch, who had 6 episodes under his belt. Following him was Leslie Linka Glatter with 4. Caleb Deschanel and Dwayne Dunham. Caleb, Dwayne Dunham, and Tim Hunter all follow with 3. Todd Holland and Tina Rathbone have 2 episodes each under their belt.
We should be careful here. I do know the fact that Diane Keaton directed an episode.
Yes, I think we've actually already seen that episode.
No, it comes next.
Oh no, we have.
It's coming up. But I do know I do know if that's going to be a trivia thing. I do know that happened. So, but I'm excited to see that episode, dude. That's wild.
I'm not entirely sure which episode this is.
It's coming. I don't know. I just know it's coming.
Oh, well, Albert's in it, so that's a good sign.
I just, Diane Keaton directing that. That's wild. That's funny.
Yeah. So we got a lot of one-timers.
So
Graham Clifford, Mark Frost, Uli Edel.
Something I want to run past you is like all these directors, and they've, so if we take Lynch out of the, let's put him out of the picture. He doesn't count. Mm-hmm. Which director, the best film? So like,
Oh.
So is The Wizard
which
the
of
winner?
these directors went on to make create the best feature film?
Yeah, the best feature film.
Not counting Lynch.
Not counting Lynch. Or
Did
just
Leslie?
she
Did
made
she
some
direct
movies,
any
but not some
movies?
great ones. Not some great ones.
I don't know how to sort TV from film on IMDb.
Hmm.
I'm gonna have to Google everybody's
Oh,
name.
I thought they were separated. No.
Not. I mean, there might be a filter for them.
And should it be our opinions or like just like the fact that it's more in the
Well, I mean, I
zeitgeist
think
of the culture? Like The Wizard is a pretty big movie in a
it is a
sense.
pretty big movie, but I don't know that a lot of people would consider it a pretty good movie.
It's
I
a
mean,
pretty,
I do. I love it.
I
It's one
love
of
it
my
too, but it
favorites.
probably made more money than like The River's
Where's
Edge.
full? Oh, there's all filmography. Yeah, but I'm sure a lot of like film students would tell you that River's Edge is the way better film. I've never seen
Oh, I'm sure they
River's Edge, so
would.
I can't formulate an
I'm
opinion.
sure they would. I've never seen it. I'm sure they would say it's a better movie. I've heard it's a better movie. I'm just saying like I think The Wizards are probably
TV, 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 TV.
anyway, that's not something we have to settle on tonight, but it's something we should look into. You know,
Yeah, boy, I'm not seeing any feature films
from who?
from Leslie Linklater.
She did
Here we
mostly
go.
TV,
Okay, here's one. There's The Proposition.
but it's not that proposition. It's not.
No.
It's not the Australian one, the Western. What's
No,
his
this
name?
is Longing to Have a Baby. A sterile
Yeah.
1930s Bostonian hires a man to impregnate his wife.
Don't watch that one. Watch the Guy Pearce, the proposition, where he's just fucking whipping that naked chick on the dinner table.
Oh,
That'll.
dude, but all-star cast in this. Look
Oh,
at
is
this. We
there?
got Kenneth
Oh,
Branagh,
of
Madeline
course.
Stowe,
Oh, maybe it's
William
good.
Hurt, Robert Loggia,
Guess you got to go to Rotten Tomatoes and see what the
Blythe
tomato meter
Danner.
is. What's the tomato meter on that shit?
It looks like NPH in the trailer here. Yep, NPH.
Oh my god.
6.2 on IMDb.
So probably similar.
But the featured review starts with the headline, "Never in the field of filmmaking has so much talent been wasted." So, guess we're going to have to judge that one on our own if we ever get the inclination.
That's
That is the
hilarious.
only feature film I see under her name.
I think I'm going with. I'm gonna go with.
You're just going to go with The Wizard, huh? But we still haven't gone with everybody else.
You're right. We haven't hit that yet. You're right.
Caleb Deschanel. He didn't actually fully direct a lot of films. Like, he went mostly toward cinematography and music videos. He does have two feature films under his belt. One is called The Escape Artist from 1982. Where did that go? What is this film about? Teenage Danny Masters, the son of late Harry Masters, considered the second best escape artist in the history, wants to follow in his father's footsteps. Okay, so it's very literal. But it's got Raul Julia and Terry Garr. Gotta love me some early 80s Terry Garr, man. And then an adaptation of Robinson Crusoe. Those are his feature film. Yeah.
I think it's between
You
River's
might be right
Edge
here.
and The Wizard. Well,
And-
yeah, I think that's what it's between.
Oh, we still got Dwayne Dunham.
Oh, what does Dwayne Dunham got?
Don't let me down here, Dwayne. What do we got for your
Wait, did
filmography
Mark
here?
Frost direct a film?
I don't think so. The Turning. Oh no, that's
The Turning?
oh no. That was something he wrote, not directed. TV. Dwayne Dunham's only feature film credit is Little Giants, which had Rick Moranis and Ed O'Neill as opposing Little League or Pee Wee Football League coaches. That was 1994. Yeah, it is not looking good for the rest of these directors here.
Did you know that Mark Frost was a co-writer on the Jessica Alba Fantastic Four movie?
I did know that, yes.
That's wild. Oh, both of them.
If I remember correctly.
Oh my
yeah.
god.
Did we look up Tim Hunter's movie? Yeah, we did. He was, yeah. Now, who is Tina Rathborn? Did we see her episodes yet? Or should we wait?
Diane Keaton has some films, but I didn't.
We did see one
none of them
episode
looked that impressive. I've never seen them before.
Tina Rathborn. Okay, she doesn't even have a picture on her IMDb, so I'm not going to estimate that she did much. Yeah, no film credits from her. I'm going to skip Graham Clifford, as he also does not have a picture. How about Uli Edel, who was a German director? Pay the Ghost. Not rated. I assume it's a German film. Yeah, that's a waste of my time looking through this.
Listen, they can't all be winners. Bro.
Oh, no, he directed Body of Evidence with Madonna and Willem Dafoe.
Oh. Interesting.
And also Last Exit to Brooklyn. All right. Yeah, I think we're losing track here of Twin Peaks.
Well, I told you that we didn't have to do this. I said we could have
You
waited.
did tell me that. You did tell me that. So we'll wait until the next episode to go over Diane Keaton's entire filmography as a director. I do want to mention.
No. Okay, I will. Wait. I just.
You did notice something else you want to bring up?
James Foley.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, he directed Glengarry Glen Ross.
Okay.
I mean, if you've never seen that, that's one of the great.
I've never seen it. I'm familiar with it.
That's where
mainly because
he
of
also
Jack
did
Lemmon.
Yeah. It's the it's it's the scene. You can Google it, or there's usually a scene. Alec Baldwin. You know, if you always be closing. You're a badass.
ABC.
You got a pair of brass balls. You know. Anyway.
Yeah.
It's got Al Pacino.
Like
it's got
Coffees for Closers.
Exactly. It's like one of the most quoted. It's a great movie.
Foley. Oh, and he also did Fear with Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, he's done a lot.
Which is really only famous for one very specific scene. But it was a really good
The
scene.
Chamber? I mean, not a great movie, really. I mean, it's all right, but it's got, fucking, what's his name? The guy who beats people. Beats women. Anyway.
The guy who beats women.
What's his name? This guy made a lot of movies.
50 Shades Darker and 50 Shades Freed.
Yeah, well, he kind of lost his shit there, obviously.
Kind of lost his shit.
Glengarry Glen Ross is a great fucking movie, though. Like, that's probably the best movie.
That is pretty universally beloved amongst people who watched it. And
Perfect Stranger, is that Halle
critics.
Berry? Yeah, it's Halle Berry. I mean, he made a lot of movies.
He also made a lot of Madonna videos in the 80s.
I think he has a Madonna film.
Madonna film? Who's that girl?
And there's a Sean Penn. He's worked with
Is
a lot
that
of...
After Dark, My Sweet? Madonna concert videos? Wow.
Anyway, I think this is probably your director winner. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, 50 Shades Freed is clearly the best.
Clearly.
On this
better
list.
than The Wizard. Or if you could mash those together, if they could remix those films together, it's probably every gamer's dream. Anyway, let's get back to Twin Peaks, Gabe.
I do want to talk a little bit about some of the special features that are on the disc that I'm currently viewing from the box set.
Let's do it.
One of them is actually a map of the town.
Mm.
And it's got little points of interest where it has a little dialogue from one of the location scouts or someone who works behind the scenes. I'm not sure specifically who it is.
Question.
But,
so then does it have like where it is situated in the Pacific Northwest?
Twin Peaks itself?
Yeah.
Kind of.
Kind of.
It does show that it borders British Columbia.
Okay. So it's just kind of Bellevue. It's Bellevue.
But it shows like it has an arrow pointing that it says to Spokane, and it couldn't possibly be pointing in that direction.
That's awesome.
So, alternate universe, whatever.
Just it's Seattle, but not.
But then when you go to these points of interest on the map of the town of Twin Peaks, it shows you the real location of these places. Mm-hmm. Like, so there's the sheriff's station where it shows you the real location, and it actually gives you the actual address in Snoqualmie where this is at. And it shows you where the Double R is and where the bridge that Ronette walked across is, and all of the stuff that they filmed.
So it's all kind of in Eastern Washington?
It was all Western Washington.
Snoqualmie's in. I thought that was more eastern. No.
No, it's closer to Puget Sound.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
kind of, well, like West Central.
West Central. Gotcha.
Yeah, forested area. Um, but yeah, so this is also where I learned that like the majority of stuff that you see, like establishing external shots, all the stuff like that, that was almost filmed exclusively during the pilot. There was a lot of interior scenes that were filmed on location in the pilot as well. But pretty much everything we've seen in the series since has been reconstructed sets on a soundstage in LA. That includes the Double R Diner, the Sheriff Station, the Palmer Home, all of the above.
Even
They did have,
in tonight's episode, they showed some outside shots of woods and stuff. It just looked like
yeah,
stock footage. Like,
yeah,
let's just pull this stock footage of trees.
yeah. Which, hey, and you know that stock footage very well could have been filmed during the pilot episode. There was that little documentary I watched that we talked about where there's the discussion of the PA like at 4 a.m. recording the sound of the wind in the trees. You know, so I wouldn't be surprised if they filmed yards and yards of footage during the pilot that got recycled into a lot of those transitional and establishing shots later on in the series. But I was honestly kind of disappointed to learn how little of it had been filmed on location in Washington. So made me a little sad, but I suppose practically it makes a lot of sense.
I'm gonna say we're in Maple Falls,
Maple Falls,
Twin.
California.
No, Washington.
Oh,
It's
oh,
close to the
that's like the
border. It's
closest
close to the
location.
border of Canada. It's
You know,
whatever.
whenever I select Twin Peaks as my location for the Instagram posts, it tells me it's 146 miles from where I'm at. So take that for what you will.
Yeah, but isn't Seattle like 160?
I don't know.
It's like 160
I
from
don't
me.
drive. So.
It might be more from you. Anyway, interesting.
Anyway,
I'm gonna ask
so
it where
yeah,
Twin Peaks
it
is.
included a lot of that stuff. There was also, I watched a quick interview with the woman who owned the Double R Diner at the time of the filming of the pilot. And it just exploded the restaurant in popularity to the point where, like, they would cater pies for parties in New York City. To an insane degree where, like, they couldn't sell whole pies to walk-in customers anymore. But, had to hire extra help to make the pies. And she also discussed how everybody that they worked with was super polite, really cool, compensated them for the entire day that they lost the business. And so she had nothing but good stories to tell. It was only like a 10-minute interview, but
Okay.
it was still fun to learn. Looked like it had been filmed at one of the cons. She was a regular at the cons that they had been holding in Washington ever since. So yeah, like I said, it's got all the addresses of these external shots, including, so fun story in that, what they use as the external for the Blue Pine Lodge, that's Pete and Catherine's place, actually also serves as the interior for the Great Northern.
Okay. And all of these are in Washington.
Yes.
You should send me that list.
I'd have to write it all down.
You can't just take a photo with your phone?
No,
It's
they're not all
they're
together.
not together. Oh.
Like it's all like a little.
Oh, that sucks.
This chapter is this location at this address.
Gotcha.
But I can compile them.
Well, I don't want you to. I would just be funny, like maybe next year for our Dave and our trip. We're trying to think of something simpler so the other guys can come. Maybe we just like hit up all these locations, all these Twin Peak locations.
I mean, I was gonna kind of pitch that for the series finale for us to make the circuit.
That'd be fun.
Have call Barry and see if he wants to tag along. I don't think he'd be comfortable riding in the car though. We'd have to get a much more comfortable vehicle for that one.
I mean, it's pretty comfortable. What are you talking about?
I would beg to differ.
Well, you haven't ridden in the back of my sports car.
No, I haven't. But thankfully, other people also have cars.
Yeah, but that's no fun.
Well, I think we finished off our Twin Peaks discussion for this
I
week
think
in the end.
so. I think so.
Sounds like we've wrapped it up. Thanks for tagging along. Yeah,
What's
now
we
that the
got
big
going on
mystery
next
is
week? What's
wrapped
happening
up,
next week? Oh, wait, wait,
well,
wait, wait.
let me find our episode guide.
We can't do next week. I'm going to be out of
We
town,
can't.
so we're gonna have to
So we're
go.
going to skip a week.
We're gonna skip a week, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I'm gonna be out of town. My wife has state with her drill team, and I will be going with her.
Oh, very cool.
So,
good luck, Bryn.
Yes. So
We're all rooting for you.
So, yeah, we're gonna have to postpone a little bit.
So yeah, we'll be taking next Wednesday off, folks. But when we do resume, this is what we're looking at. We get some time with Sarah as she learns to accept all that has happened to her family. Dr. Jacoby returns from Hawaii.
What?
Cooper makes his preparations to leave Twin Peaks.
Yes.
And Mayor Milford objects to his brother's engagement to a much younger woman.
That sounds questionable.
Yeah. It sounds like a soap opera, doesn't it? So.
Is that what we got from this here on out? Just like straight up soap opera shit?
Nah, that is the heavy majority from this point forward. It's not all we've got, and it's not the best of what we got, but it's more prevalent than it has been up until this, or maybe not. That's how it felt to me on all of my previous viewings, is that there is less to enjoy about the episodes going forward from here until we get like the big 2-part finale
with Lynch.
But it does occur to me watching now how few of the breadcrumbs we've gotten for those big mysteries that we cover in those last 2 episodes.
Gotcha.
So yeah, we're actually going to learn a lot over the next couple of weeks that takes us into the final 2. But we're also going to see a lot of bullshit that we're going to hate. So if you folks are ready for that,
so I got to switch from beer to whiskey, is what you're saying?
I'm probably going to go from 1 to 2 an episode once we start to get to James's storyline.
Cool.
So, yeah, that's what we're in for, folks. So, if you're along for the ride or die, you're with us till the end, you know what's coming next. So, we thank you for joining us on the journey so far, and we hope you'll stick around for the rest. We'll have fun in making fun of it, so, that'll be entertaining at least, right? Like Ian says, we're taking next Wednesday off, but we'll resume 2 weeks from now. We hope to see you all then. In the meantime, hit us up on the socials, Blank as a Fart on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, and Blank as a Fart pod at gmail.com.
It's been fun, Gabe.
It's been a fun week, Ian. We had a lot to talk about this week, as usual.
We actually went for another almost 2-hour episode tonight.
We did, yeah. We did go almost 2. Almost a full feature film length. So I like where we're going from here. I hope we can keep this momentum rolling.
I'm sure we can.
With the material that we're going to be given over these next 13 weeks. So
I'll work harder, I promise.
Yeah. Stick with us, folks, and men, stop doing evil, would you?
Stop doing it.
Stop doing it. Thanks again, folks. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Take care now. Love you, Ian.
Leave it. Later.